Hi, I'm Dr. Cass Spencer-Smith and welcome to another dose of Private Practice Ninja Medicine. And today I'd like to talk to you about money, and particularly our relationship with money in terms of earning money in private practice. What's our mindset around money? I don't know about you, but I've struggled with this in the past, and many of the clinicians I work with do struggle with money when it comes to talking with patients about finance and treatment. And it's a real issue, and it's an issue because it can seriously put the kibosh on growing a successful practice. So what is it about money and conversations around money that is tricky? Let's unpack this a little bit, and I'm going to talk with you about sort of 5 key areas I think we need to be thinking about in terms of our mindset and how it relates to patients and money. I think one of the first things that trips us up is our original motivation behind why we went into our particular profession in the first place. I became a doctor. I decided science was quite interesting. I quite like people, and the plus side was it was nice to help people. Maybe you're the same. And so in the NHS sector, whether you're an orthopaedic surgeon, whether you're a physiotherapist, whether you're an endocrinologist, unless you're very high up in your career pathway, chances are you've not really held a budget. You've never really had the nitty-gritty sort of conversations with patients that you might have to have in private practice. So it feels a bit sticky, a bit kind of awkward, a bit wrong sometimes. And we need to get beyond that. And part of the issue in the NHS is we're so good at being shielded from it that it becomes an unnatural conversation. So even if the patient says, I'd really like a hip replacement, but they've got to wait for months and months and months, or there's a treatment that they can't be given via the NHS, you're somehow given a sort of get-out clause, because you can have a conversation with the patient that might go something like this. Well, the government doesn't fund it. We've run out of budget for this month. NICE hasn't approved it. I bet you've had that one before. And I would really love to be able to do this for you, but I'm not able to. So when it comes to money and private practice, we have to start getting comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And the best way to do that is to do it more often. Our second stumbling block is the notion that somehow we have to be able to help everybody. Everybody who needs us can see us. Here's the simple fact. In private practice, not everyone is going to be able to come to see you. But it's often not because of financial reasons. I like to think of it as a case of resources. So I'm pretty nifty at looking after patients who've got hip and groin pain. But even if I had all the time in the world, I can't treat everybody. So you need to be able to put your time, effort and resources into helping patients who are able to come to see you. Number 3, you must remember the plus sides for patients to see you privately. And this comes down to a couple of things usually. First of all, it's about choice, and secondly, it's about timing. So in terms of choice, in private practice, those patients are able to come to see the person they want to see, the clinician, the expert they want to see. In the NHS world, they may have done a little bit of nifty Googling and persuaded their GP to refer them via Choosing Book to come to see you, but the post-op follow-up might be interrupted, or they may not be followed up by you in your sort of respiratory clinic later on. There may be changes in physios, and so that continued relationship rarely happens. They want a relationship with you, somebody who's going to take care of you. The second very, very important thing, in fact it's the most important reason patients choose private practice care, is timing. So when you think about it, it's more than just I'm going to get seen quicker, I'm going to be out of pain quicker. It's something on the lines of this: I can see you at a time and place that suits me. If I'm a busy person working in the city, that means I don't have to interrupt my workflow because you're just 2 minutes down the road. You may save the patient money in terms of childcare costs. It could be that if you're self-employed, it's critically important for you to get over that dose of sciatica quite quickly so you can go back to being a plumber or a lecky or whatever it is that you do. Number 4 is quality. It's all about quality in private practice, and I've been in private practice now for a decade, and the reason I left the NHS is I just wasn't able to give the patients I wanted to care for the level of care with the resources that they needed in the NHS. It simply couldn't happen. So you are actually giving patients the opportunity to invest in their own healthcare to get better. And there may be some things you haven't considered. How much, for example, does it matter to that patient to be able to get back to running, riding their horse, sitting comfortably at a desk, or having peace of mind rapidly available to them with an expert? That stuff's priceless, and that's what quality is all about. Number 5, the final thing I want to talk to you about is conversations with patients about their patient recovery journey. This is where people get it so wrong. You can get it so right. Here's the thing. If you're an ethical clinician, and I know you're an ethical clinician, your duty is to help patients get better. And the problem is, a lot of the time, especially if patients are self-funding, we might have these little conversations that go something like, well, we'll see how we're doing next time. We'll decide what we do next time. That's a big mistake. It's our duty as clinicians to help patients to get better. And that means we're taking them on a journey that has a destination. The destination or the result is getting better. And in private practice, patients want to invest in that process. So what we should be doing with clinicians is, on the very first occasion we see a patient, that we describe or map out what we expect to happen and some decision-making points. So it could be that maybe you're seeing a patient, for example, who's got a sprained ankle, and you've assessed them. They don't immediately need to go for imaging or X-ray, and you say to them something like, we're going to work on these key points for the next 3 sessions, and by session 3 I would expect you to be able to achieve X, Y and Z to be a bit more comfortable. And on that third occasion, we're going to make a decision about whether we go down pathway A, which could be having an MRI scan and maybe having an injection. Pathway B, it's not working, that ankle's so floppy, it needs to see an orthopaedic surgeon, and we haven't been able to achieve some change with conservative care. Or option C, which could be that actually things are going quite nicely, we're going to continue along these lines. I'm going to take you through some plyometric training, return to sport. I would expect you to be back playing football, maybe around session 6 or session 7 at that stage. And if we don't have those conversations with patients, we're missing out on a lot. Firstly, it shows the patient that we know our stuff, and we haven't just made this up on the spur of the moment in that particular clinical assessment. And also, P.S., we've seen people like you before, and the patient feels really cared for in that way. And if we don't do that, we're also missing out on the opportunity for the patient to make their decision about whether or not they want to invest in that treatment process with you. They can see what it's going to involve. They can work out in their minds, if they're self-funding, whether it's something they can afford, whether it's something actually, yeah, that is doable, I could come and see you for this, or whether they feel that they want to use their private health insurance pot to come and see you. So I'm going to challenge you at your next initial appointment with a patient to have that conversation, to map it out so that they know what the pathway looks like. They can expect they're going to be working with you on a number of sessions, and you're going to make these decisions at these points. That way the patient says, yes, I'm buying it, I'm investing into this process. You know that you're going to be able to take the patient and treat them in the way that you want to treat them, and you can overcome some of those uncomfortable conversations at the stage 3 or stage 4 where you still need a little bit more work there. So if you need help with coming to terms about conversations with money with patients, or you'd like help with growing your private practice, why not get in touch at www.privatepracticeninja.co.uk, or even book in on one of our Grow Your Private Practice workshops in London. I'm Dr. Kath, this is Private Practice Ninja, and I'll see you next time.